So do they need exercise or don't they? I mean, which one is it? Do they or don't they? I mean, I want to know.
These brothers my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side, CJ Ike, never gotta roll with ice. These brothers my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side, CJ Ike, never gotta roll with ice.
Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Paul with Spheric Reptiles, and I thank you so much for tuning in today. Hopefully this is a video that will prove helpful to you in one way or the other, and maybe it's something that you already thought about, but maybe you just didn't look at it. Or what I chose to do was do a little bit of an experiment to see just how the benefits of enrichment, or in particular physical exercise, would pay off or detriment my ball pythons, right? Since we're growing our collection, and I don't want to have unhealthy animals no matter what. So I did this experiment, which was a small experiment, right? So I'll just let you know how I set it up. So I had 4 animals. They were all female, right? It was over the course of 6 months. There was no control. So what I did is the control was actually the group that I had for 6 months that received less enrichment. And I chose a 6-month time frame just because I knew that over that course of time, then if anything happened, then I could step in and change things up. But just as we always know that when ball pythons get closer to that 1,000 gram weight or 800 gram weight, they normally go off food, or feed. Let me get it right. So the purpose of this experiment was to actually see if increasing that enrichment or that physical exercise would make my snakes, I guess, a little bit more muscular and in a sense more hungry to where they would waste less food, right? So the greater the amount of poop or feces or bile or whatever you call it, the more likely they're not absorbing those nutrients. So of course we know that when we exercise, and as I've gotten fat too with my new job, sitting at a desk all day, right? So I'm the one to talk, right? So, but anyway, I started off with the control group, which received less than normal enrichment. Like all of my ball pythons get handled every week, but so I was adding 2 more sessions to some of the snakes, and in particular, there were 30-minute time frames in which I would just handle them, whether they were aggressive or not. I just really wanted to see if this would pay dividends as to their state or their well-being or their eagerness or their attentiveness. And without a doubt, I think you might be surprised at the results. So if you want to know more, stick around. In the first group, or the control, I had a female fire clown, Daisy, and I had another animal that was Cher, that was a passive yellow belly, had hypo. So this was the control group in which they basically only received physical activity when I was doing their water change or I was feeding them, right? So we typically do water changes here around twice a week, right? So we pick the middle of the week and we pick on feeding day. So that way we ensure that the animals aren't going more than 3 days without having their water change, right? And I think that's fair enough. It's not like they need water changes every day unless they're defecating in it. Water doesn't really go bad that quick, right? So, and in the other group, or the active group, I had 2 double head lavender albinos and piebalds. So one was named Shirley and one is named Laverne. And you see them there on your screen, guys. They all came in at around the same weight. What I was really trying to see was, all right, so if everything remained the same, so all of these animals, and the reason I picked them is they all received a weaned rat once a week. Like I typically stick to a weaned rat until they get over 1,200 grams or 1,500 grams. And it looks like their head size and their body composition will allow them to have a small rat, with the exception of breeding, in which I would normally bump them up to a small rat anyway, just to give them a little bit more nutrients during the week. But they all received water changes twice a week. They all received that weaned rat. They all had ambient temperatures of around 78 degrees. They had a basking spot of 90 degrees. And like I said, everything else was the same. I kept them clean. I'm always like OCD when it comes to cleanliness. So there's never any urates or bile or anything in the cages more than at least that day when I get home, right? So, but we did this experiment. It was over the course of 6 months. So I conducted this experiment from the month of April 2024 to September 2024. And I'm going to let you guys know exactly what we got so that you can see if you're getting the same thing or not. So I'm going to put up some charts on the screen and some pictures of the animals. I'll flash them back and forth so that you can get a general sense of what I'm talking about. But the first screen that you see is Daisy, and this is our fire clown. And from April, she started off at 634 grams. In May, she dropped down to 616. In June, she went up to 672. July 720, August 766, September 854. So she had a net gain of 220 grams or 36.7 grams per month, right? So that was pretty much the average and the starting and the stopping points of the study for her. And again, she was one in a control group that only received physical activity when we did the water changes twice a week and or the feeding. So now we'll go straight on to share. And as you look at the screen, you'll see the share went from 900 grams initially. She was one of the ones with the highest amount. She went to 982, 1,000. Then she dropped down to 988, 1034, and she ended up at 1096 with a net gain of 196 grams or 32.7 grams per month. So these are probably good numbers, right? If we think about it, 30 to 32 grams per month could be good, right? It could be, but say if you were at the gym and you were working out and you were trying to develop muscle and you were hitting the weights hard, you were exercising, you were getting your cardio, would you expect to put on only 32 grams or the equivalent of that? So if you went from 600 grams, I know you wouldn't go from 600 grams, but say if you only increased your body weight by that much, so less than 5% over the course of 6 months, is that something that you would be happy with? Or would you be kind of like, maybe I'm not doing things right? So let's take a look at the second group in which we had the active group. So as you look at the screen, now you can see that Shirley, our number 3 participant, went from 620 grams to 772 to 767 or 796. I'm sorry, I don't have dyslexia, I promise. 924, 1104, and then she ended up at 1188 with a net gain of 568 grams or 947 grams per month. That is 3 times more with just physical activity. And the physical activity, I didn't say that earlier, but the physical activity just included me holding them, making a move. And these sessions lasted anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, but I was just holding them, exercising them, stretching them out, kind of working them against their will a little bit, and then calming them down, letting them sit and calm down before I put them back into the enclosure. I didn't want to rile them up and then put them back in the enclosure and then have them still riled up and still pissed off. I actually let them kind of free roam a little bit. So not only were they getting this 20 minutes of physical activity, they were also getting about an additional 10 minutes of just free roaming and just enrichment of just seeing new things, smelling new smells, because we have other reptiles here. We have a boa constrictor as well as a bearded dragon. So just to let you know. So as we go on to number 4, then we can discuss her gains as well. And you might be surprised at these results. I was surprised to see these results. So with Laverne, she went from 556 grams to 672, 762, 824, 1020, and she ended up at 1146 with a net gain of 590 grams or 98.3 grams per month. Again, I pose you the question. And this is one of the things that I had to think about seriously. So as I have stopped exercising my damn self, so I need to get back in the gym. Seriously, I can see the effects of sedentary lifestyle, and we know that that increases. Like if the ball pythons, just talking about ball pythons, I'm not talking about you, I'm not talking about me, I'm just talking about ball pythons. But we know that their respiratory rate, their cardiovascular rate, their liver function, their gastric function, their mental state of being, everything is reduced if they don't get that enrichment and that physical exercise. The same thing goes for us. So I can understand, like in the first 2 control groups with the fire clown and the pastave yellow belly head hypo, that the times when they went off a feed could have been from inactivity because maybe they just weren't hungry because they were more sedentary, or it could have been from a lack of interest. So either way, one of the things I always say is if we know better, we do better. And to do research. Well, I really say do research. And you probably just hearing if we know better, we do better for the first time, right? But if we know better, we should actually do better. So seeing that the active group gained I'm gonna say 3 times as much more muscle mass, because these snakes are actually stronger in the field. And I'll be holding right now, but I just fed yesterday, and I have a strict policy of not fucking with my animals for 2 days after they eat, because I do not want regurgitation. But anyway, so one of the key things that I found out in this is that enrichment activities that I've came up with in the past, and if you want, at the end of this video, I do have a link for you to actually look at our enrichment activities that we have. We used to have a tree. It just proved to be a little bit bigger. I would say make that smaller. And we have some other things that we use for enrichment, and they work great outside of just regular handling. I think handling is the best because it tests their strength against yours. It just works out better. But in this study, which was a 6-month study of a small, very small sample size, you can see that there are some definite benefits if done correctly. Like, you're not overholding your animal, but just if you increase from the normal amount. So for us, it's 3 times a week. And then you up that to like an additional 30 minutes, and you break that out into 15-minute increments, or 20-minute or 40-minute increments. I'm sorry, 30 to 40 minutes. Our animals paid big dividends, because I feel like with that extra exercise that Laverne and Shirley, just like the show, got more exercise, whereas Daisy and Cher, they just kind of didn't do it. So what we've done since this, because this was all taken, this study was actually completed at the end of September. I'm putting this video out now because I've had a chance to think about it and analyze it, add it to our business plan and our SOP. So, and that's our standard operating procedures, right? If you don't know what SOP stands for. But anyway, now you do. It's just, I feel like it's my duty to do the best job that I can for my animals. The majority of the time they live in the tubs like they are in behind me. But the one way that I can offset that is to provide them that enrichment. Now, that requires more time on my part and for the animals. But again, like I said before, if I can't do those little things, then I shouldn't have the animals at all. So I'm going to do my part to make sure that they lead and live a very healthy, active, and reproductive life, if I choose for them to try to reproduce, if I put them together. But if nothing else, so that they can enjoy the time that they have as much as I enjoy the time that I have, because it's all life, right? It's all important. So, you know, I hope that this video helped you. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. And as I always say, let me know what you think. If this is something that you think is good, if you think it's bad, or if you've heard it before 1,000 times, let me know, because I'm just trying to put out information that could help someone. And if without anything else, guys, you see the 2 videos on the screen right here. If you're interested in more activities like that, check them out. And as always, enjoy the time that you spend with your reptiles, and enjoy that time that you have with your family. Thank you.